All right, let's just start with x squared plus 12x plus 35. Well, is this a perfect square trinomial? Is 35 a square? No, 35 is not. So it's not a perfect square trinomial, so all that stuff we did a minute ago is not going to work out. So this is where we need another method. So the first thing that you might want to do is identify, and this is just good practice because later on you'll be doing the same thing. And you don't have to do it every time, but what is your A, your B, and your C? Yeah, and just to show you real quick, you always want to, you're considering this form. A is the coefficient of your x squared, B is the coefficient of your x, and C is your constant. So A is 1, B is 12, and C is 35. Later on when we do the quadratic formula, you'll be doing the same thing. Okay, so what is the first step? Yeah, so one of the ways that I do this, and this is just my little notation, kind of might be helpful, I just kind of think about A times C, so 1 times 35 is what? 35. This is my key number. Now what's the second step? Well, it's got to do more than just add to 12. That's one of the things it has to do. It has to multiply to be this key number. So I need to come up with two numbers that multiply to be 35, but add to be 12. 7 and 5. So then the third step, once you get those two numbers, 7 times 5 is 35. 7 plus 5 is 12. Once you get those two numbers, we write B as a sum of those two numbers. So I'm going to rewrite my trinomial. X squared plus, now instead of 12, I'm going to write 7 plus 5. That's what I'm saying is a sum. And it's, don't forget your x. So it's 5x plus 7x plus 35. And finally, what's the last step? Factor by grouping. Group this guy, group those two. What do we factor out of the first one? X. And we have x plus 5. What am I going to factor out of the second group? 7. And I'm going to have x plus 5. Yep, and now I factor the x plus 5. So I'm going to x plus 5 times x plus 7. So I factored this trinomial into a product of two different binomials.